summarize my whole issue is timing. About the logical games, like there is not one logic game that I cannot solve it, but no matter how much I try, I even try to I watch your mastermind videos and everything. It helped me a lot to just solve it better. But I feel like all those tricks kind of mess up with my thinking process. And at the end of the day, um, I'm still having problem with timing to like complete all four set of games. I still like can complete three of them, and in middle of this last one, I would run out of time.
I understand. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that you should radically change your approach to one that doesn't work for you, but there can also be a period of adjustment where it could be harder to do it a different way at first. But once you practice it that new way enough times, it actually ends up being faster for you. So
Yeah.
you might want to give it some more time to see if it starts to click and starts to feel more natural for you. But regardless, if you're running out of time on that fourth game, you want to pick up some points somewhere. You want to pick up some time somewhere earlier in this section. So you want to see how could you have approached any of those first three games a little bit more efficiently, maybe making another inference, maybe reusing previous work more. But those are the biggest things you can do to speed up.
So when I look at the workshops, what they usually like how they approach it is that uh, when they have all the conditions like written on the paper, so what they're gonna do is that they like basically write up all the scenarios that the game can go through. So when they get to the question, it's just that they look at the scenarios and they can just answer the question in like 2 or 5 seconds. I understand that. But at the same time, it takes so much of your time to come up with all the scenarios. So when you get to the questions, you don't actually have to write down everything.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's amazing when it works that well
Mhm.
to do those setups up front. Of course,
Yeah.
not every game lends itself to that kind of approach, and you may not be able to do it as quickly or as thoroughly as the people teaching the class. But the idea
Yeah.
is that you don't need to do that for every single game where it applies. If you just keep it as one tool in your toolbox and pull it out sometimes, it can help you out. So don't feel like you have to solve it perfectly all the time or that you have to do
Yeah.
something as in depth as what you see in the videos or the classes. But it is an approach that can work. So I'd recommend at least considering it sometimes. The key is that you draw out those scenarios methodically, where it's not like you're making a random diagram, but that you see this game can go one of two major ways. So you draw out those two different options and then make them more detailed with time.
Yeah. So one thing that I've tried, like, the questions that are must be true or must be false, I've tried to get through if questions first. So I have more scenarios. And then when I get to must true or must be false, I can get rid of some answer choices. But the questions are designed so smart that like the maximum number of answer choices I can get rid of is like one or two. Like even if I solve those if questions first. But I guess that's how it is.
That's how it is. I mean, at least you knock out one or two, so you've narrowed it down a bit, and then
Yeah.
from there, out of the remaining choices, you might need to draw out all three,
Yeah.
or maybe one of those choices seems more likely, so you start with that one, just based on how that variable relates to some of the rules, for example. So you can
Oh, yeah.
approach them somewhat deliberately, not just going 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yes. That makes very sense. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Also, so about the logical reasoning, I'm so what I figured out what I was lacking for November LSAT that I missed like reviewing, and since I like got introduced to your course, reviewing is part of my study schedule. And with the logical reasoning reviewing, the issue that I have is that I cannot seem to like understand what I'm doing wrong about that type of a question, like if it's like an assumption question, or if it's like different type of logical reasoning questions. When I review, I can only understand what I did wrong only for that question, not for that type of question. So I don't really know how to come up
Oh,
with
I
that.
understand. Yeah. I mean, so the key is that after you've reviewed a particular question, you want to extract a key insight from having reviewed that problem that can then apply to other problems of that type. So part of noticing the tricks and traps you're uniquely prone to falling for is, okay, well, if it was a degree of certainty issue or the category of things they were discussing, some kind of mismatch in those terms, or if there was a particularly difficult method of reasoning in the stimulus, that method of reasoning may show up in other question types. And so if you can get clear on what exactly the mistake was, it can be generalized because the LSAT, of course, as you know, keeps repeating itself with different disguises. So it can apply to other questions. You just need to take that moment to pause and zoom out, big picture, what is the key insight that can then relate to others.
Yeah. So do you have any suggestion how I can figure that out? Because that's what I've been struggling with.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple of links to some workshops on logical reasoning, because in those classes, I would always take some time to pause and say, how does this relate to other problems like this one? And that's the kind of process you want to use as well. Because it's not just about the problem that you got wrong before, it's about the future ones you're going to encounter. So I'll send you some links.
Sure, that would be great. Okay, so what I've been trying to do for logical reasoning is that, so when I first started studying, so number 1 to number 10 were the easiest the questions for me. I would get them right 100% of time. Then I tried to like evolve myself from number 1 to number 15 would be easiest for me. So I always do 115 right on time, like 1 minute per question. I would get all of them, like, you know, it's like the best of the question set for me. And then once I hit number 15, I go to number 25, or like the lastest one, 26. And from there, I would still be doing fine till I get to number 21. And the hardest ones for me are number 16 and number 20. And those are the ones that I always get, I always run out of time to like answer them.
Those are the hardest questions. I mean, that's not what you describe is not surprising at all. It's just that harder questions are going to take longer. And I think your approach is reasonable, because if you're going to run out of time, you might as well run out of time when you've already completed all the easier ones. So I don't see this as a particular problem, other than that you don't want to run out of time. You want to be able to solve everything. Yes. And so you get faster by understanding the problems more deeply. And so I would suggest reviewing more logical reasoning questions, reviewing more difficult logical reasoning questions, and just overall working on your pacing. So maybe there are some easier questions that you could be solving just a little bit more quickly, meaning that you're already getting them right. You don't need to double check or triple check them. You can trust your gut on those and move on. And you also don't want to risk getting bogged down on a question without making progress on it. So maybe if you can recognize, hey, I'm getting stuck here, it's not clicking, I'm just going to flag this one, skip it, and come back to it later. And at least that way you can complete the section. And then if you have a buffer of a couple of minutes, you can then go back and handle any questions you might have flagged earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also about reading comprehension. So what I try to do, I try to, like, every paragraph that I read, I try to have like a summary on my mind and kind of find the relevance to other type of paragraph. Like I keep asking myself why the author is telling me about this. And I try to like find the function of the paragraph within the whole text. But again, every time I run out of time. So what I've been trying to do, I do the first reading comprehension text, and then I'll do the last one. And then I come back to the second and third, because I felt like that second and the third are the ones that take most of my time. And I always run out of time for the fourth one, which fourth one is like, seems to be easier than the second and third. So I do first, fourth, and then come back to second and third. I just, I'm really like trying to um find out like ways that I would like summarize it and just like answer questions with more confidence, but it's not working out.
I hear you. Yeah. What's your note taking strategy like, if any?
I don't really write down anything, I just keep it on my mind.
Okay. No, I think that's
Yeah,
fine. How
yeah.
long does it take you to read through the passage initially?
Maybe so first and the fourth one takes like 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the text would be fine, and then like maybe 30 seconds to get through the question. But second or third one, for sure, more than 5 minutes, like 7 minutes, I just need to understand the text.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that that could be part of the issue is that you're taking so much time on the passage that you may not have enough time to really look at the questions closely.
yeah,
I actually recommend closer to 3 minutes on the initial read. And then those extra 2 minutes that you're spending, you could then apply to the questions. So that's my biggest recommendation for you based on what you've shared is I would adjust the ratios a little bit, spend more time looking at the
yeah.
questions because the questions are really, really tricky.
Yes, yes. Because like sometimes you try to get through the passage and you're like, oh, I understand this passage. And then you go to questions. I'm like, oh, I even like missed this part. Like I had no idea this was
Mhm.
part of the passage. Yeah, that's totally right.
Yeah, I would say when you read the passage, just look to get the main idea. Focus on the
Yeah,
extracting the main idea, the author's opinion, noting where the details are, but not necessarily trying to digest all of the details on that initial read. Just notice where they are, and you can go back to them when you need them to solve the questions.
Um, also, as holiday season is approaching, I'm going on a trip tomorrow, but I really don't want to like the whole trip. I don't want to like set my books aside because I feel like all the work that I've been putting through, and if I don't like do any questions or look at my notes, like they're all gonna, run away from my mind. So, what kind of like suggestions do you have that I still like what type of like a study schedule do you think I should approach that during my trip I would still have time to study?
Well, travel is difficult, and I don't know all the
Yeah,
details of your trip, but
yeah.
are you going to be out and about all day and only in like the place that you're sleeping? Are you only there morning and night, or what's your itinerary like?
So it's I'll be home in like in the morning time, and then we're trying to like have fun like after afternoon and night. So I was thinking in the morning time I would just like do one sections like do like one practice test during the morning time and then go out. But I'm not sure
Okay.
if that's like the smartest approach or there's
No, I
something
think
else
it's
that I should
okay. I think it's
consider.
okay. I mean, a full practice test in the morning is a lot, and I would
Yeah.
not recommend doing practice tests on consecutive days. So maybe some mornings you'll do a full practice test, maybe once or twice a week. But then on the other mornings, even just spending an hour and doing
Yeah.
a section and a little bit of review or watching a video in the course and doing a
Yeah.
couple of questions, that's enough. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. I mean, a trip is not the ideal setting to do focused LSAT studies. So you don't need to try and replicate an entire typical day of study on a vacation day. I would suggest instead just do a little bit anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours in the morning before you leave for the day, depending on how you're feeling that day and what else is going on. And then know that you can make it up and do a bit more once you get back.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try my best. Also, this one, I'm not sure, like, it could be useful to other students, but at the same time, I feel kind of uncomfortable sharing it. But I would really wanted to ask for your advice. So, in my undergraduate, okay, what I've done, we had this organic chemistry course, and we had like pre-labs, and the pre-lab were like every pre-lab was like 2% of your mark. And I did perfect. I got like A+ on all my midterms and everything else. So for one pre-lab, I posted one of the pre-lab questions online just to ask for help. And nothing on the course outline was saying that you cannot post like a question online. Like it wouldn't be an academic dishonesty. Like I was always terrified of that. So, and the website that you would post your question, it wouldn't even show up your information. So what my prof did, my prof reached out to the website and asked like, what was the person's email who posted the question, and they give him the email. So I ended up with, like the 2% pre-lab question, which was like 5 questions, and I posted 1. I failed the whole course, which is, it's okay. I had like A+ on the midterm. It's okay, but I'm really terrified of the record, and it's not something that, like if the law school sees the record, it's definitely something that would be, it's like the worst case situation. But at the same time, it was really something small that first I didn't have the intention to like cheat or do any type of academic dishonesty, and so I don't know what to do about it. Like,
no, I'm very sorry to hear about this. Obviously, you did not have any ill intentions. This was just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I would suggest, and this is not going to ruin your chances or anything like that, I would recommend simply writing a very brief essay, very matter of fact about this, and that should be enough.
So do you think that for 100% they're going to look at that academic dishonesty record? Because if they're not looking at it, I don't want to be the one who's stepping forward and just telling them about that 2% pre-lab question that they posted online. I don't like.
I understand your concern. Yeah, I mean, it's all based on the wording of the questions on the application. Mm-hmm. Typically, the questions will include something like this, like any academic disciplinary things or anything of that nature. Applications for law schools vary. Different law schools ask different questions. I think many of them will ask a question that would require you to disclose this. And you don't want to leave a question like that unanswered, because then if it's on your transcript,
of course, yeah.
Like if they see that you failed a class, right? Like that's a question that requires addressing regardless. Mm-hmm. So I would simply share with them what you shared with me, not looking to make excuses, but just explain the situation and say how what you did was not intending to violate any rules, that it did not violate any rules that were posted anywhere, but this was a misunderstanding between you and the professor, and it was not with the intention to cheat or anything like that.
Yeah. So if it's already part of the application, I would for sure answer them and explain the situation. But if there is no way on the application that they have this part regarding to academic dishonesty, what should I do? Should I still like attach something, or?
Well, you always can include some kind of optional essay about it. That's easy to do on any application. But because the professor failed you for this reason, the F is going to be on your record anyway. Yeah. And it's a shame because you did so well in the class,
2% lab question, and it was 5 questions, and I posted 1 of them online.
No, I mean, I don't think I could get an A+ in organic chemistry. That was not my thing for sure. So you definitely have the skills there. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I would just write a very brief essay, very matter of fact, explaining the situation just to cover that.
Sure. Of course. I'll do that. Okay. So I don't really have any, let me see if I asked everything. Yes. So that was all I had for today. And thank you so much again for meeting with me.
Of course, Sheree,
I really appreciate it. Yes.
Of course. No, it was great to meet you. Keep in touch and let me know if you need anything at all moving forward. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.